So now we are going to discuss a very important topic of innate immunity, that is TLR response. Okay, TLR response. We are going to talk about TLR response. Now listen with all your attention. What do you mean by TLR? Let's talk about some history. Okay, now TLR means toll like receptor. Okay, TLR means toll like receptor. Now listen, that means this particular thing is telling you that toll like receptor means that there is something known by the name of toll receptor, right? There is something known by the name of toll receptor. There is something known by the name of toll receptor, right? Now listen with all your attention. When I am talking about toll like receptor, that means this toll like receptor represents a protein which looks like this toll receptor, right? Now a very interesting part you need to understand is this, that this toll receptor or toll proteins, okay, these proteins are actually present in fruit fly or Drosophila melanogaster. Okay, that means this toll protein is not actually our protein, it is present in Drosophila melanogaster. Clear? It is present in Drosophila melanogaster. Clear? Or which is known by the name of fruit fly, right? Clear? Which is also known by the name of fruit fly. That means these toll like proteins, okay, are present in Drosophila melanogaster. Now what is their role or what is their function in Drosophila melanogaster? Now listen, these toll like proteins actually have two functions in Drosophila melanogaster. Okay, they have two functions in Drosophila melanogaster. What are they? The two functions are, number one, the formation of, they are helpful in the formation of dorsoventral axis. They are helpful in the formation of dorsoventral axis of Drosophila melanogaster. Okay, Drosophila melanogaster during embryogenesis. Okay, clear? Now and the second part is this, that scientists understood that these toll like proteins actually are doing something and they are actually killing microbes. That means they have antimicrobial actions. Antimicrobial actions. Now listen with all your attention. As our protein, as our receptors look more or less like them or have homology, therefore these proteins which are present in our body and they also have some antimicrobial activity. Clear? Therefore these proteins are known by the name of toll like receptor. Clear? That's why called toll like receptor. Okay, that means toll like receptor is actually present in what? This toll like receptor is actually present in what? Drosophila melanogaster. Clear? It is not our protein. Okay, why actually they are known by the name of toll like receptor? Now listen, it is very important again for you people to understand that Drosophila toll protein actually have a very important thing I am going to say, that is sequence homology. Okay, sequence homology with our protein. Clear? They have sequence homology with our protein. Clear? Now in the bioinformatics class you will understand that what do you mean by sequence homology and how we can actually find out sequence homology of a protein. Clear? Okay, now listen with all your attention. There are actually many TLRs. Okay, there are actually many TLRs and they are named from 1 to 10. Okay, These TLRs are named from 1 to 10. Clear? These TLRs are named from 1 to 10. Okay? Now, a very interesting part you need to understand that how toll receptors or toll like receptor TLRs look like. Okay? At first we are going to discuss that. So, we are going to discuss TLR structure. Okay? Now listen. So, this is the actual structure of your plasma membrane, a section of your plasma membrane. Okay? Now listen. Actually what you will have to understand is this, that the TLR structure actually is divisible into many parts. Okay? TLR structure is actually divisible into many parts. Okay? If you are going to talk about TLR structure, the first thing you need to understand is this, that there are actually intracellular structures and extracellular structure. Now listen. Okay? Now listen. So, in the extracellular structure, we have got two important things, and that is leucine rich repeats and also cystine rich repeats. Okay? So, there are these two extracellular structures which are present in your TLR structure. Now listen. Suppose these are your leucine rich repeats. Okay? Okay? These are your leucine rich repeats. Clear? Okay? Now, interesting part you need to understand is this, that the leucine rich repeats of TLR actually folds in this way. Okay? Folds in this way. Clear? So, this is actually the structure of your TLR leucine rich repeat. Okay? So, this is actually what? TLR leucine rich repeats. Okay? Now listen with all your attention. Very important thing now you will have to understand is this. So, after that we will be having these structures. Okay? After that we will be having these structures. These are what? These are nothing but your cysteine rich residues. Clear? These are your cysteine rich residues. These blue colored ones are your cysteine rich residues. Okay? Clear? These are your cysteine rich residues, and these violet colored ones are your leucine rich residues. Clear? Your leucine rich residues. Clear? Now, a very interesting part you need to understand is this, that after that there is a important thing here right now. Clear? After that, in this case, what will happen is this, that we will be having an intracellular structure of TLR, right? We are having a intracellular structure of TLR, right? Now, this intracellular structure is very, very important. This intracellular structure is actually known by the name of TIR domain. It is known by the name of TIR domain. Clear? It is known by the name of TIR domain. Okay, so this is your TIR domain. Okay, so this is cysteine rich residues, this is your leucine rich residues, and these are TIR domain. Okay, now a very interesting part you need to understand is this, that why this domain is known by the name of TIR domain, right? Why it is known by the name of TIR domain? Okay, now listen, it is known by the name of TIR domain because TIR, this TIR actually stands for toll IL1 receptor domain. Okay, so this TIR actually stands for toll interleukin 1 receptor. Okay, so TIR domain stands for toll interleukin 1 receptor domain. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. Now we will be talking about why this domain is known by the name of TIR domain. Now, why we are talking about this TIR domain? This is very important. Why, you know? Because this is the domain actually which starts the intracellular, you know, signaling process of TLR signaling. Clear? Now listen, we should understand this domain very clearly. Okay. Now we will be talking about why this domain is known as TIR domain. Now listen, actually what happens is this, that this domain has homology sequence, or this domain has sequence homology with interleukin 1 receptor. Clear? Now listen, what is the structure of interleukin 1? Okay, now listen with all your attention. So this is actually the structure of interleukin 1. Okay, this is actually the structure of your interleukin 1, okay, receptor. Okay, now listen with all your attention. So this is actually the structure of your, you know, interleukin 1 receptor. Okay, this is actually the structure of your IL1 receptor. Clear? This is the structure of your IL1 receptor and this is TLR structure. Now listen, the similarity lies here, that is in the TIR domain. These three are called box 1, box 1, box 2 and box 3. Clear? Now listen, in TIR domain also these three boxes are present. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. These three boxes are very important because here adapter proteins will bind. Okay, adapter proteins will bind any, you know, mutation in this domain, that is any mutation in the, you know, portion of the gene which is actually transcribing this TIR domain will lead to a deleterious effect, that is your adapter proteins will never bind with this particular position and you will have a, you know, deficiency in innate immune responses. Clear? Now, very interesting part you need to understand is this, that there are many adapter proteins like, you know, MID88. Okay, MID88. You will learn, don't worry about this. MID88, which bind to these boxes. Okay, and there are many, you know, other adapter proteins. Okay, which also bind to here. Okay, so any mutation in these three boxes, not in this entire, you know, TIR domain, only in these three boxes may lead to some deleterious effects. Clear? That means suppose there is a mutation in this box 1 or box 2 or box 3 region, then what will happen is this MID88 will not bind with this particular TIR domain and therefore innate immune response will not be complete or will not actually initiate, because after the binding of MID88, a MID88 dependent pathway will start. Okay, a MID88 dependent pathway will start which will actually lead to the formation of, you know, inflammatory cytokines, which is actually the first step in the, you know, development of your innate immune response. Clear? Okay. Now, in the interleukin 1 receptor, you can see there is a homology between these two structures, right? Not in these structures, but in these two structures. Okay, that's why this domain is known by the name of toll interleukin 1 receptor domain. Clear? Because this domain has sequence homology with what? Interleukin 1 receptor cytoplasmic domain. Okay. Now, as we were saying that this, you know, leucine rich repeats are actually present like this C-shaped curve in a cell. Clear? Now we will be trying to draw that thing, okay. So now we will be drawing the leucine rich repeats like this, okay, or leucine rich residues like this, okay. This is your, cysteine rich residue, okay. This is leucine rich repeats, okay. And this is TIR domain, okay. Box 1, box 2 and box 3, okay. So this is what your TLR looks like in a cell or on a cell, okay. Now a very interesting part you need to understand is this, that all the TLRs in your body works as a dimer. Listen with all your attention. All TLRs works as a dimer. A very interesting point you need to understand. That means this single TLR won't start the signaling. That means whenever there is an bacterial pathogen or something like that which is actually trying to activate this immune response, then what we will have to do is, what your body or your cell will do, they will actually call in other TLR molecule, okay, and they will form a dimer. Clear? They will form a dimer, okay. That means there will be two TLR molecule. There will be two TLR molecules, right? And when there will be two TLR molecules, then what will happen is this dimer will now start the signaling process by activating the adapter proteins, right? Now listen with all your attention. These dimers can be heterodimers, or homodimers. Now interesting part you need to understand here right now is this, that these heterodimers and homodimers, are actually very much important. Why? Now listen, what do you mean by heterodimers? Now listen with all your attention. You know that there are 1 to 10, right, TLR, there are 1 to 10 TLR molecules, right? Now listen with all your attention. There are 10 genes also of TLR molecule. Clear? There are 10 genes. Only 10 genes actually control TLR molecule. Now listen with all your attention. Out of this 10 TLR 2 and TLR 6, they form dimer. Clear? TLR 2 and TLR 6, they form dimer. Now this dimer will be what? One molecule will be of TLR 2 and one molecule will be of TLR 6. That means this will be a heterodimer. So TLR 1 plus 2. Clear? Now another thing. Okay, this is this is 2 plus 6. Now another thing you need to understand is this. Another homodimer is another heterodimer is present. That is very simple. TLR 1 and 2. Okay, actually you should understand this. That means TLR 1 plus 2, they have a tendency to form a heterodimer. Okay, now listen with all your attention. That means TLR 2 always have a tendency to form a heterodimer. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. TLR 3, 4, 5, 7, 9. These TLRs always form homodimers. These TLRs always forms homodimers, never heterodimer. Clear? Okay, they always form homodimers. That means TLR 3 plus 3, TLR 4 plus 4, okay, TLR 5 plus 5, like this. Okay, clear? So they always form homodimers. They form dimers, but they form homodimers. That means two of them, molecules of which are forming dimers, they are same. Clear? So now we will be talking about the placement and the function of different types of TLRs. Okay. Now a very interesting point you need to understand is this, that TLR signaling, now listen with all your attention possible. TLR signaling may start, now listen with all your attention. TLR signaling may start when the antigens are present outside the cell, clear, or inside the cell. That means, now you will have to understand a very basic thing, that means TLR molecules are present on the surface of the cell membrane and also inside the cytoplasm, right? Now listen with all your attention. Yes, TLR molecules are of two types based on their position. Okay. Some TLR molecules are present on the cell membrane. Okay. Some TLR molecules are present on the cell membrane. Okay. And some TLR molecules are present on the endosomal membrane or endosomes. Clear? Now listen, this is your endosome. Okay. This is your endosome. This is your cell membrane and this is your endosome. Now listen with all your attention. A very interesting part you need to understand is this, that we have discussed about heterotetramers, right? Sorry, heterodimers, right? Now listen, all the heterodimers like TLR1 and 2, TLR 2 and 6, they are present on the surface of the cell membrane. Clear? Suppose clear? So these are leucine rich repeats, okay? Clear? And this is your, suppose this is your, cysteine rich repeats, and this is your, TIR domain. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. These are box 1, 2 and 3. Now a very interesting point you need to understand is this. Suppose this is TLR1. Suppose this is TLR1. Okay? Now listen. Now I will be drawing another TLR. You know what is that? I will now be drawing another TLR. So this is leucine rich repeat of another TLR, that is TLR suppose 2. Suppose this is the leucine rich repeat of TLR2. Okay? And this is your again what? Cysteine rich repeat. Okay? And this is the intracellular, this is the domain, and this is what? This is your TIR domain of TLR2, right? Now these TLR1 and 2 together will only respond, that means they will dimerize when there are these things in your cell surface, that is lipoproteins unknown origin. Clear? Lipoproteins. Then if there are peptidoglycans and if there are zymosan is a molecule which is present in your generally in yeast. Okay, it is present in your yeast yeast. Clear? Now another thing you must understand is this. I was going to tell yeast a molecule. Okay. Now listen. Another thing is lipoarabinomannan. Now listen with all your attention. When these molecules, lipoproteins, peptidoglycans, which are important components of bacterial cell wall, zymosan, which is an important component of yeast cell, and lipoarabinomannan, okay, which is lipoarabinomannan is an important component of mycobacteria. Okay. Now if these molecules are present, then TLR1 and 2 they will dimerize and they will start the signaling process, okay, from here. Okay, clear? Now we will have to understand, I cannot draw every time TLR for you, okay. So I will be drawing this two TLR dimers here and here. I will be drawing another TLR dimer here. I will be just changing the names of this TLR, okay, clear, that's it. And we will rub this portion, and then we will write this important things which are actually stimulating these TLRs, okay. Now listen, so now we will be talking about a very interesting TLR, that is TLR 2 and 6, okay. These are, now at first we will be talking about heterodimers, clear. Now listen, now we will be talking about TLR 2 and 6, clear. Okay, then let's try out. So this is the transmembrane domain, and this is what? Cysteine-rich residue. Now listen with all your attention. This is what leucine-rich residue, right? This is TIR domain, okay. Now listen, suppose this is your TLR 6 molecule. Now why I am drawing the TLR 6 only? Because this is your TLR 2 molecule, right? 2 and 6 are forming what? 2 and 6 are forming dimers with each other, right? Clear? TLR 2 and 6 are forming dimers with each other. So this is what? Cysteine-rich residue, okay? This is cysteine-rich residue. Now this is what? This is a transmembrane domain, okay? This is a transmembrane domain. This is what? TIR domain, okay? This is TIR domain. So this is now TLR2 and TLR6 dimer, heterodimer, okay? Clear? This is TLR2 and TLR6 heterodimer right now, clear? Now a very interesting point you need to understand is this, that this TLR2 and TLR6 heterodimer recognizes similar things. That means they will also get stimulated only when these molecules are present, that is lipoproteins, peptidoglycans, zymosan and lipoarabinomannan. That means this heterodimers actually help in what? Bacteria, actually helping getting rid of bacteria, yeast as well as mycobacteria. Clear? Clear to everyone? So right now we have drawn 3 TLRs, okay? We have drawn 3 TLRs, okay? Now listen with all your attention. So all these TLRs which we have drawn actually are present in their homodimeric form, clear? Now listen, this is what? This is known as TLR, suppose 5, okay? This is known as TLR 5. Now listen, bacteria, some bacteria have flagella, right? And this flagella is made up of a protein known as flagellin, clear? Now listen with all your attention. This flagellin activates TLR 5, clear? This flagellin activates TLR 5 and starts the TLR signaling. We'll talk about TLR signaling later, okay? Now we are going to talk about this TLR. You know what is this TLR? It's a very important TLR. We don't need another TLR, okay? Sorry, I have not rubbed this portion, okay? So this TLR, clear? Now this TLR is known as TLR 4. This is known as TLR 4. Now listen, a very interesting part you need to understand is this. TLR 4 recognizes lipopolysaccharides. Now listen with all your attention. They are a part of bacterial cell wall, okay? Now it is very important for you to understand that TLR 4 actually gets activated when, suppose this is the bacteria and this is the LPS, okay, lipopolysaccharide layer. Now when this lipopolysaccharide layer touches, or this lipopolysaccharide touches this TLR 4, then they get activated, then their TIR domain gets activated, okay? Now a very interesting part you need to understand here is this, that this TLR4 actually is not alone. this TLR4 actually is assisted by another protein which is associated with it. Clear? This is the only TLR which is associated with, you know, another protein, and this protein is known as MD1. Clear? Now listen, MD1 and TLR4 together interacts with each other, and when this LPS, you know, containing bacteria activates this TLR, then MD1 also gets activated, and these two together now activates macrophage. That means, now listen with all your attention, TLR4 is present in macrophage. Clear? Is present in macrophage, and this TLR4 is very, very important for antibacterial, you know, activity of macrophages. Clear? Antibacterial activity of macrophages. Clear? Clear? Okay, they are very, very important for antibacterial activity of macrophages. Okay, clear? Now we'll be talking about those TLRs which are present in the endosome. That means, now listen with all your attention. My first question to you will be this. Listen with all your attention. Which one is correct? Which orientation of TLR is correct? Tell me. Is this orientation of TLR is correct, or this orientation of TLR is correct? Which one is correct? Suppose this is number 1, number 2. Pause the video and don't, you know, Google search anything and try to answer. Now listen with all your attention. If you want to answer this simple question, you will have to know a very basic thing, that is, these TLRs, sorry, those TLRs which are present, you know, on the endosomal membrane, they are activated only when the bacteria or the virus has been uncoated. That means only when the bacteria or the virus has been, you know, killed by these endosomal enzymes. And now listen with all your attention. And now, due to the rupture of their cell wall, their DNA and RNA have comes out. Clear? Their DNA or RNA have come out. That means what? That means these, you know what? These TLRs actually get activated by the DNA or RNA of bacteria or virus. Okay? Now, very important point. Now listen. This is actually the domain which gets activated, right? Which gets activated and start the TLR signaling, right? Now listen. These bacterial DNA or bacterial RNA is present in the endosome, right? Therefore, they are leucine rich repeats, which is the main important thing for, you know, starting the signaling. They should be present inside, not the outside. Therefore, this, you know, thing, this representation is wrong. Clear? So now you know these TLRs are, you know, the leucine rich repeats of these TLRs are present inside the endosomal membrane. Clear? Okay? Now listen. So suppose this is your TLR3, this is TLR7, and this is TLR9. Now a very important point you need to understand is this, that TLR3, 7 and 9, they are actually endosomal TLR. Clear? Endosomal TLR. Now listen with all your attention. All these TLR will form dimers, right? All this TLR after activation will form dimers. Now listen. TLR3 is activated when they touch double-stranded RNA. Now listen with all your attention. We do not produce double-stranded RNA. Our cells do not produce double-stranded RNA. Only bacteria and viruses produces double-stranded RNA. Therefore, when this double-stranded RNA touches this particular TLR, they get activated, and their, you know, TIR domain get activated, and TLR signaling starts. Clear? Another. TLR7 is activated when they see single-stranded RNA. When single-stranded RNA activates TLR7, then downstream signaling start. Now, a very interesting part you need to understand is this: you also have single stranded RNA, right? But how can a cell differentiate between this single stranded RNA of virus or DNA, bacteria, or your single stranded RNA? Now listen, your single stranded RNA will be present on the cytoplasm, not in the endosome. That means if any single stranded RNA has resulted in the endosome, that means it is definitely coming from a virus or bacteria. Clear? Okay. Now listen with all your attention. Another thing, TLR9. Now listen with all your attention. TLR9 is activated by a very interesting thing, that is, you know that this is suppose your DNA, okay, and this is suppose your gene, and there is a promoter like thing which is, there is a region in the promoter called CPG island, right? Now listen, your CPG island in most of the cases is methylated. Clear? When this gene is off, when this promoter is off, and when this gene is off, clear, your CPG islands are methylated, and this methylation is done by an enzyme known as DNMT, DNA methyl transferase. We have enzymes, specialized enzymes, for which the function of which is to transfer methyl groups to these CPG islands. Okay. Now listen, CPG islands are parts of promoter. Clear? They are actually parts of promoter. Now listen with all your attention. What this TLR9 actually senses is unmethylated CPG. They sense unmethylated CPG. Clear? They sense unmethylated CPG and start the downstream signaling. Clear? Okay, so these are actually, the TLR and their function. Now, interesting part you need to understand is this: all these TLR will start the downstream signaling when, suppose this is TLR7. Now listen, all this TLR will function when they have a dimer. That means 2 TLR7 are required for the downstream process signaling. Okay, and 2, suppose TLR9 is required for detection of unmethylated CPG and starting of downstream signaling. Clear? Okay, because they are homodimers, they are always forming homodimers. That means whenever you are talking about TLR and their signaling, you should understand that TLR signaling starts from a homodimeric or heterodimeric form. Clear? Okay. Now we will be talking about the interesting part, that is TLR signaling. At first we will discuss in short, then we will be talking about much details. Okay. All right. So now we will be talking about TLR signaling. Okay. Now listen. Before we start TLR signaling, you must understand that we will be only talking about TLR2 signaling. Okay. We will be talking about, TLR4 signaling. Okay. Why? Now listen. Actually, I was actually factually incorrect in your other video or in the class before this, because I said that with TLR4 MD1 is present, I guess. Actually it is MD2. Okay, but you must understand that actually why I said factually I was correct, not completely incorrect, because MD1 is present. MD1 is a protein which is also associated with TLR4 or other TLRs, not TLR4 but other TLRs. Okay, such as MD1 is present with other TLRs like TLR2, and these MD1 proteins are actually part of B cells or B lymphocytes. Clear? Now when we are talking about macrophage, then suppose this is a macrophage. Okay, suppose this is a macrophage. Now in this macrophage we will study TLR4 signaling. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. At first we will be starting with the TLR4 basic structure. Clear? We will be at first starting with the TLR4 basic structure. Okay. Now you know this. So this is cysteine rich repeats. Okay. This is cysteine rich repeats. These are leucine rich repeats or LRRs. Clear? And this is TIR domain, right? Box 1, box 2 and box 3. Okay, clear? So this is the basic structure of your TLR4. Clear? Now listen, with TLR4 there is a protein that is MD2. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. Suppose let me tell you one thing. Suppose this is the bacteria, and this bacteria is having lipopolysaccharide. Okay, suppose this is a lipopolysaccharide molecule. Okay, LPS. Now listen with all your attention. This this LPS binds with at first a protein known by the name of LPS or lipopolysaccharide binding protein. Clear? This LPS binds with a protein, that is lipopolysaccharide binding protein. Clear? Now listen, suppose this is your LPS molecule. Okay. Now listen, suppose this is your lipopolysaccharide binding protein. Clear? This is lipopolysaccharide binding protein. This one is lipopolysaccharide binding protein. Clear? Now, interesting part you need to understand is this, that with this lipopolysaccharide binding protein, we have got this. Now listen, this lipopolysaccharide binding protein actually binds with, suppose this is your lipopolysaccharide binding protein. Now listen with all your attention. Now, this lipopolysaccharide binding protein now binds with this protein. Okay, this lipopolysaccharide binding protein now binds with this protein. This is known as MD2. Okay, this is known as MD2 protein. Clear? This is known as MD2. Okay, so you now know what is the importance of MD2, right? It works like an adapter protein, okay, and attracts this what? LPS, right? Now listen, when this MD2 binds with this lipopolysaccharide binding protein, then what happens is this, dimerization of TLR4 takes place. Clear? TLR4 dimerization then takes place. Clear? Okay, then TLR4 dimerization takes place. Now listen with all your attention. After the dimerization of TLR, that is, suppose this is another TLR molecule. So this is what? This is your TLR4 dimerization. Clear? TLR4 dimerization. Now, very important part you need to understand is this, that with the activation of MD2, this TLR4 dimerization takes place. Clear? This TLR4 dimerization takes place. Now, what happens is this, very important. Now, listen. Actually, what is happening here is this, that there are two events which are occurring. One which is taking place in the cytoplasm and other which is taking place in the nucleus. Clear? Now, listen with all your attention. One thing which is occurring in the cytoplasm is actually divisible into two parts. Now, listen with all your attention. TLR signaling actually is taking place in two places. Clear? In two places. Number one in the cytoplasm. Number two in the nucleus. Now listen with all your attention. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. A very interesting part you need to understand is this. The signaling pathway which is taking place in the cytoplasm actually is divisible into two parts, or actually have two parts, that is mid 88 dependent pathway. Another is mid 88 independent pathway. Clear? So there are two pathways, that is mid 88 dependent pathway and mid 88 independent pathway. Now listen, what is mid 88, right? Now listen, mid 88 is actually an adapter protein. Now what is adapter protein? Listen, the importance of adapter protein or mid 88 in this case is this, that when these TIR domains, these are what? These are the TIR domains of your what? TIR domains of your what? TLRs. Now listen, when this TIR domains are activated, TIR domains are activated, okay, when this TIR domains are activated, now what happens is this will send a signal, okay, this will send a signal into the cytoplasm of a cell. Clear? These are all molecular mechanisms. Now listen with all your attention. This will send a signal to the cytoplasm of cell, right? Now listen with all your attention. what is happening then is this, that due to the activation of these TIR domains, a protein will come and will join this portion of your TIR. Clear? Now you must understand. So that is when your TIR domain is activated. Now listen, this is your mid 88 protein. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. A very interesting part you need to understand here is this, that some people say that mid 88 directly associates with TIR domain, and then mid 88 gets activated. Clear? Mid 88 gets activated. Okay? Now listen with all your attention. Some people say when mid 88 gets activated, then after that the downstream signaling starts. Okay? Now it is very important for you people to understand that there is a very much there can be a very much good debate whether mid 88 is at first activated or not. Clear? Now if you go for any book, they are showing these things, that is, suppose what they will show is mid 88 directly associates with what? TIR domain. Now I have read many papers, okay, and I have come to the conclusion that this is actually wrong. Why? Because mid 88 is actually not present as a single molecule. Okay, in the cytoplasm mid 88 is actually not present as a single molecule. This is my opinion, okay, and I can share the paper with you. Clear? My opinion says that mid 88 is actually present as a complex. Clear? As a complex. Mid 88 is actually not a single molecule, it's a complex. Okay, and in this complex there are other proteins as well. Clear? Now this mid 88 is associated with another two proteins, two proteins, and they are IRAK1, okay, and another protein is IRAK4. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. This whole complex, this whole thing is known by the name of midosome. Okay, this whole thing is known by the name of midosome. Clear? Now the full form of this IRAK is actually interleukin 1 receptor associated kinase. So this is the full form of IRAK, interleukin 1 receptor associated kinase. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. This is very important for you to understand. Okay, now listen. Now the question arises, so this is midosome. Okay, now you know that mid 88 will be activated, right? But who will actually activate mid 88? Do you know this? Who will actually activate mid 88? Now listen. Actually what happens is this, with the TIR domain there is an associated protein known as TIRAP. Clear? TIRAP is a very interesting protein. Why? Now listen with all your attention. TIRAP is a very interesting protein. Why? This is because of the fact that when this TIRAP when this TIRAP protein is activated by TIR domain of, when this TIRAP protein is activated by, when this TIRAP protein is activated by this TIR domain of TLR4, then this TIRAP actually now activates, this TIRAP now actually now activates MID88. Clear? Now activates MID88. Okay, clear? So TIRAP is actually the adapter protein, clear, which is activating MID88. Okay, listen with all your attention. So what is the full form of this TIRAP? Okay, TIR domain containing adapter protein. This is TIR and this is adapter protein. This is TIRAP. Clear? So this is the full form of TIRAP. Clear? Okay. Now so TIRAP is actually connecting the TIR domain with this midosome. Okay, and activating MID88. Now listen with all your attention. What will happen is this: after the activation of MID88 will now activate IRAK4. Clear? MID88 will now activate IRAK4, and IRAK4 will now activate IRAK1. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. Actually, this is how your IRAK protein looks. Okay, this is how your IRAK protein actually looks. This is how your IRAK protein actually looks. Okay, so this is your IRAK, suppose, protein. Okay, not IRAK1 or IRAK2, both have similar kinds of, similar type of, structure. Now listen, suppose this is a IRAK protein. Now listen, there are two hands. Now you can see there are two hands of IRAK, right? There are two hands. Suppose this is the first hand and this is the second hand. Now listen with all your attention. So there are actually two hands, right, of IRAK. Now with its first hand, IRAK interacts with MID88. Clear? And this second hand is actually a kinase domain. Is a kinase domain. That means this second hand can introduce, suppose this is a protein, and this second hand can introduce a phosphate in this protein, right? So this second hand is the kinase domain, and this first hand interacts with MID88 protein. Clear? Interacts with MID88 protein. Now listen with all your attention possible. So this is actually a loop, okay, that MID88 activates IRAK4 by this hand. MID88 actually activates this hand of IRAK4, and IRAK4 after activation will activate this kinase domain and this kinase domain. So actually what we are going to see is this, that actually these two are connected, okay, and they are also connected. When these IRAK4, okay, let me do this with greater ease so that you can understand. So suppose this is your connection, this is your connection. Now listen with all your attention. Suppose MID88 now is activated by TIRAP, okay. Now after the activation of MID88, what will happen? IRAK4 will be activated, and after that IRAK1 will be activated, right? This is very important. Now listen, after this what will happen? Midosome, from this midosome IRAK1 will come out. After the activation of IRAK1, from this midosome complex IRAK1 will come out and do its downstream signaling, okay, and will perform its downstream signaling. Clear? Now this IRAK1 will perform a very peculiar function. You know what is that? Listen, IRAK1 will now, after coming out from this midosome complex, IRAK1 will perform its downstream signaling. Now listen with all your attention. It's very important for you to understand. Okay, this IRAK1 will now activate a very important downstream protein which is called TRAF6. Clear? Which is called TRAF6. Clear? This IRAK1 will now activate TRAF6. Clear? Okay, will now activate TRAF6. Now it is very important for you to understand what is the full form and what is the function of TRAF6, right? The full form of TRAF6 is TNF receptor TNF receptor associated factor 6. Clear? So this is TRAF6. Clear? So TRAF6 is actually a ubiquitin ligase. Clear? TRAF6 is actually a ubiquitin ligase. Now listen, you have a very much important concept about ubiquitination. That is, whenever a protein is ubiquitinated, then it is destroyed by proteasome, right? Now listen, suppose I am a ubiquitin ligase. That means I will be adding ubiquitin to a protein. Now listen, whether the protein will be destroyed after ubiquitination, that depends on the type of ubiquitination which is happening. Suppose there are polyubiquitination, okay, most probably the protein will be destroyed. But there are some types of ubiquitination or addition of ubiquitin to a protein where the protein is not destroyed but it is activated. Clear? Now listen, TRAF6 is actually a ubiquitin ligase and it works with a protein known as ubiquitin conjugating enzyme or UBC. Clear? I am not going into details of this ubiquitin conjugating enzyme. Clear? Now, it is very important for you to understand this is that this TRAF6 is a ubiquitin ligase. That means it will add ubiquitin to a protein. What will happen is this. Now, TRAF6, I will have to sacrifice this place. Now, listen. What will happen is this TRAF6 will now activate a protein called TAC1. Clear? Now, listen with all your attention. This TAC1 is actually associated with many other proteins. Clear? These proteins are TAB1 protein, TAB2 and TAB3 proteins. Now listen with all your attention possible. TAB3 protein. Now listen with all your attention. TAB1, TAB2 and TAB3 actually inhibits this TAC1. Okay. Now listen, what will TRAF6 do? TRAF6 will activate TAC1 by ubiquitinating these enzymes. Clear? Sorry, these subunits. Now when TAB1, TAB2, TAB3 are removed, then TAC1 will be activated, right? This TAC1 protein will be activated, right? Now when this TAC1 is activated, now it will lead to the activation of very important protein in this pathway called NF kappa B. Clear? NF kappa B. Now listen, NF kappa B, actually the full form of NF kappa B is nuclear factor kappa light chain enhancer of activated B cells. Okay, so this is the full form of NF kappa B, that is nuclear factor kappa light chain enhancer of activated B cell. Okay, so this N stands for nuclear factor, this is kappa light chain enhancer of all these things, and this is B cell. Okay, now listen, this NF kappa B is very important. Now listen with all your attention. Actually this NF kappa B is not a single protein. Actually this NF kappa B is a dimer, okay, of P50 molecule plus P65, or it is made up of P50 molecule and another P50 molecule. That means NF kappa B is a dimer. Okay, that means NF kappa B is a dimer, okay, of either P50 and P65 or both the P50 molecules. Now listen, this is NF kappa B. Clear? Now it is very important for you people to understand that this NF kappa B is inhibited by another molecule which is known as inhibitor of kappa B. That's it. That is I kappa B is actually the inhibitor of NF kappa B. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. What will this TAC1 do? Right? Now listen with all your attention. TAC1 will actually activate a protein known as inhibitor of kappa B kinase or IKK. Clear? Okay. That means stack 1 will activate inhibitor of kappa B kinase. That means IKK. Now when this IKK molecule is activated, what will happen is this IKK molecule will actually phosphorylate this inhibitor of kappa B. Okay. Now listen with all your attention. With the phosphorylation of this inhibitor of kappa B, what will happen is this inhibitor of kappa B will now be now released from NF kappa B molecule. Clear? Will be now released from this NF kappa B molecule. That means now the NF kappa B molecules are free, right? The NF kappa B dimer molecules, that is P65 and P50. These molecules are now free and they will now translocate into nucleus. Now why this is happening? Why after the inhibitor of kappa B molecule is released from these dimers, why these dimers are now then moving into the nucleus? Now this is very important for you to understand. Listen, if any protein wants to move into the nuclear membrane or nucleus, it should have a signal molecule which is known as nuclear localization signal, right, or NLS. That molecule should have what? NLS, right? Nuclear localization signal. Now listen with all your attention. P50 and P65, they both had this NLS molecule, but this NLS molecule was actually inhibited by this inhibitor kappa B. Clear? This inhibitor kappa B was actually hiding under it what? These nuclear localization signal of NF kappa B dimer molecule, that is P65 and P50. Now what is happening is this, after the inhibitor of kappa B molecule is released from this site, then nuclear localization signal or NLS becomes active, right? NLS becomes active, right? Now when these NLS are active, now what will happen is this, these NF kappa B molecule, clear? This is what? NF kappa B. This NF kappa B molecule will now enter into the nucleus and they will activate DNA. They will activate DNA. That's it. Now they will activate DNA. Clear? So this is P65, this is P50. So they will activate, this is NF kappa B. Clear? They will activate these genes. Now listen, these are pro-inflammatory genes. These are pro-inflammatory genes. That means these are the genes which will produce something called cytokines. Clear? Something called cytokines. Okay? And also they will produce something called TNF, that is tumor necrosis factor. Clear? Okay, so these are actually pro-inflammatory cytokines, and these cytokines, after their formation into the nucleus, or sorry, after their transcription, their RNA will come into the cytoplasm and they will be formed a complete protein. Clear? So this is mid-88 dependent pathway. So this is just this step. This was actually mid-88 dependent pathway. Clear? Now we will be talking about mid-independent pathway. So this was actually mid-88 dependent pathway. Now we will be talking about mid-88 independent pathway. Now how this mid-88 independent pathway will change? Now listen with all your attention. You don't have to worry about anything. Clear? Just listen to me. Now listen. This mid-88 independent pathway, clear? This mid-88 independent pathway in the nucleus, what is happening you now know, that's why I am rubbing this part. Now listen. The cytoplasmic things are very important here. Now listen, this mid-88 independent pathway, this thing is known also by the name of TRIF dependent pathway. TRIF dependent pathway. Clear? Clear? This is known as TRIF dependent pathway. Now listen with all your attention. TRIF dependent pathway. In TRIF dependent pathway, what will happen is this is very easy. Okay, this is very easy for you people to understand what will happen in TRIF dependent pathway. Why Because in TRIF dependent pathway, very interesting thing will happen. Now listen with all your attention. In TRIF dependent pathway, suppose this is a TRIF molecule, okay? Suppose this is a TRIF molecule, okay? Clear? Suppose this is a TRIF protein, okay? Now it is very important for you people to understand TREEF is not an adapter protein. It needs adapter protein so that it can get information from this TIR domain, right? This adapter protein in case of TREEF dependent pathway is called TRAM, is known by the name of TRAM. So TRAM is an adapter protein for TREEF dependent pathway, and it will activate TREEF. Clear? It will activate TREEF. And after the activation of TREEF, you know what will happen? TREEF will directly activate TREF6. That's it. It's so simple and so stupid. Clear? TREEF will now activate, you know what? TREF6. Now after the activation of TREF6, what will happen? You know, all these things are same, okay? Almost same. Clear? There are minor differences, but I am not talking about this. I am not, you know, trying to, you know, confuse you more with these tiny details, okay? But this is, you must understand. But there is a very slight difference. Now what is this? It's already a messy thing right now, I know. Clear? Now listen with all your attention. TREEF not only activates TREF6, they also activate a very, you know, important, significant, you know, protein which is called TREF3. They will also activate TREF3. Clear? They will also activate TREF3. Now it is very important for you to understand what will happen if TREF3 is activated, right? What will happen when this TREF3 is activated, right? TREF3 activates, you know, 3 proteins. TREF3 activates 3 proteins, which is IKKI, TBK1. Okay, now let's not talk about the third protein, because third protein is NEMO, and which is more confusing because it is nothing but a part of, you know, this thing. So let's not talk about that. So these 2 proteins, IKKI and TBK1, actually activate a very interesting protein. You know what is that? They will activate another interesting protein. You know what is that? They will activate another interesting protein known by the name of IRF3. Clear? IRF3. Now this IRF3 will now be phosphorylated due to these proteins. Clear? So these proteins phosphorylase IRF3, and this phosphorylated form of IRF3 actually goes into the nucleus and activates DNA. Clear? So in TLR signaling, there are actually 2 pathways, that is NF-kappa B signaling and IRF3 signaling, which is occurring simultaneously and activating DNA and, you know, activating the genes of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which is helping you in combating inflammation. That's it. So this is the detailing of, you know, TLR signaling. So this is just TLR4 signaling. Okay. Now we will be stopping here right now. Okay. Then we will be talking about, you know, the, you know, transmembrane receptors of, you know, cytokines. Then we will be ending our innate immune class, at least for now. Then we will be again, next day we will be talking about, you know, NK cells. Clear? So that's it for today. Thank you.